We live about 90 minutes away from Kalispell, Montana, so we really try to make our trips to the grocery store count. I'm going to show you what a typical pantry restock looks like, so if you're curious about living further away from town, this is what to expect. I'm politely refusing to show you the shopping process because you know what the inside of a Walmart looks like, and filming people in public is straight up obnoxious. Usually during our trip, we'll stop and get ourselves something to eat. We let our kids quietly use their Switches, so it's almost like a date for Devin and I. Grocery shopping is at minimum a 5 or 6 hour ordeal, and that is before we put our things away. Today we picked up about 20 pounds of potatoes despite having a 50-pound box already in the pantry. Those 50 pounds are from our grandparents, and I plan to use most of those as seed potatoes next summer. You'll notice that we mostly buy ingredients, but at the same time, Devin and I are working full-time jobs, so we do have a few convenience items on hand. I like to keep around 15 pounds of rice on hand, as well as 50 pounds of flour and 50 pounds of sugar. And pretty much the only meat we buy is pork-based. We've replaced beef with venison and chicken with rabbit and wild grouse. I would like to raise pork again, so maybe that'll be something for us to get into next year. Between the homestead and trying to work out every single day and just having grubby outdoor kids, we sure go through a lot of washcloths and bath towels. Our Nigerian dwarf goats are due in a couple weeks, but until then we are still buying butter. We'll have 3 in milk this time, so that should be enough to build up a year's supply of butter. If you think we go through a lot of tortillas, you are not prepared for the bananas. Our kids are 4 and 5, so it's nice to have a few ready-to-go snacks that they can get for themselves. I've got something like 2,000 butternut squash seeds saved up for next year, but it's not next year yet, so we're buying some. Here are some of the bananas. I really like dark brown sugar. Light brown sugar is all they had today, so that's what we're stuck with. We typically eat 2 or 3 raw tomatoes a day, which is part of the reason why we're happy to have this year-round greenhouse finished. Well, that and the absurd amount of bananas my kids like to go through. We've got to have some chips to go along with that homemade salsa. We prefer to get cottage cheese from Costco, but we didn't do that this trip. We'll stock up on that next time. We need lots of huckleberries and blueberries for our breakfast Dutch babies, and they go really well with oatmeal too. All parents need a secret stash of chocolate. We totally got busted last time. We'll see if I can put this in a decent enough hiding spot this time. Our son is a climber, so I'm really not going to get my hopes up on this one. We do have a bidet, but let me tell you that spring water is icy cold. I initially started putting our produce in glass jars so that way it would keep longer, but a pleasant side effect of that is that it's much more visually appealing, so we are more likely to eat it before it goes bad. Ooh, now this is not enough milk for the month. Devin works in town 3 days a week usually, and at least twice a month he'll stop after work and get a few more gallons of milk for us. If we wanted a true month's supply, we would need to freeze some, and honestly, we don't have the freezer space for that right now. We've already got just over a year's supply of wild game in there, and rifle season only began 2 days ago, so I am sure we're going to stock up more from there. We add oats to a ton of recipes, and everyone needs a good supply of chocolate chip cookies as fall and winter come on. I really wish we had maple trees around here because making syrup looks like so much fun. We bake quite a bit of bread, but anytime I see those French loaves at Walmart, I can't resist. I always pick up at least 1 or 2 of those. They go great with the lunch meat. We picked up a couple fun towels for the kids. Don't worry, the kids have their very own stash of M&Ms that they can get into. Some mini pumpkins for the kids to decorate, and a bigger pineapple for all of us to enjoy. Even more bananas. I've heard you can get around 200 bananas per tree, and I have no fears that we're going to be able to take care of that. Bananas are actually the reason why we made our greenhouse 20 feet tall in the back. More berries for goodies like oatmeal and pancakes in the morning, plus some easy to peel citrus so the kids can get it themselves. Cream cheese for a cheese ball and a cast iron cheesecake. While we try to reduce our processed foods, we are not looking to eliminate those anytime soon. If you plan on having kids, I highly recommend you starting them on apples and bananas instead of raspberries and blueberries, which are so much more expensive. Unless you can grow it yourself, in that case, that's a way better option. Convenience foods to help us survive flu season. I often cook twice as much as I need and then freeze half, but it's still nice to have something pre-made from the store like chicken patties and fish sticks. Now I gotta clean up my baking soda mess that I put down to make the fridge smell a little bit fresher. Transferring our ingredients over to glass jars not only looks nicer, but it makes it really speedy for me to measure it out in recipes, so I can skip the measuring cup altogether. All my mason jars have measurements on the side. That speeds up the cooking process and eliminates one more dish that I need to wash later on. And if you're cooking 2 or 3 meals a day from scratch, that really does add up. If you'd like, I can go over all the ingredients that I typically have on hand, plus all of the meals that I typically make from those. I basically have a mom's menu of sorts, and that big menu is built off of just a few very simple ingredients. A couple weeks ago, I showed you how I made homemade soap from deer tallow. The first like 3 or 4 bars that I tried to cut, I messed up. They didn't cut very pretty, so I turned those into a liquid hand soap instead. So thanks to those deer from this year's archery season, we now have about 2 years worth of bar soap and 1 year's supply of liquid hand soap. That $13 container of lye has basically gifted us the ability to make probably a decade's worth of soap. Here's our latest bar made with our own homegrown lavender and spearmint. Now that we've finally got everything put away, here is a good look at everything in the pantry. That should give you a decent idea of what we keep on hand all the time. And also here is fridge number 1. Here's fridge number 2, which will get filled up a bit more with some thawing meat and things like sweet tea, maybe a few iced coffees as well. And now I'm gonna go put my feet up with some homemade choke cherry wine. I'm not crazy about alcohol, but I will never turn down a sweet gift like this one. And oh my goodness, it is delicious and way stronger than expected. This is something you pace yourself on for sure. Tonight I'm gonna cozy up with a new to me book that I picked up from Blacktail Mountain Books in Kalispell, Montana. I've learned to really like the long winters thanks to my collection of books. And a cozy chair, a warm blanket, and a crackling fire sure seems to help too. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my evening. Thank you so much for letting me talk at you, and I can't wait to hear from you in the comments. You really are the highlight of my week.